So Brexit was Britain rejecting Germany from being the biggest economy in Europe. So World War One was fought because of the feud between the royal families of Britain and the Germans, the royal family of German descents. And then under reparations, the Germans rebelled against the British. So now Brexit is the aftermath of Britain not wanting to play second fiddle to the engine of Europe, which is the German government. The true economical power of Europe is the German, as being the most prosperous European Union member. So if y'all remember the 2008 collapse was the contingency of Wall Street, Merrill Lynch, not Merrill Lynch, Goldman Sachs, Merrill Lynch, Bank of America. They were all forced in by Paulson and Ben Bernanke to remerge and clean up the mess from Lehman, with the CEO of Lehman which was Dick Fuld. But the whole thing was contagion through America's banks into Britain. If you notice, the contingency of 2008 was directly from the junk bonds of selling AAA credit rating for real estate. It's basically junk bonds they packaged up into AAA ratings. And so they collapsed the markets of America and also Britain. Because after the economical system between America and Europe, after World War II, Europe was in ruins, and America was the only one that was unscathed as far as our infrastructure. So America industrialized themselves after World War II to start mass producing with the reconstruction of Europe. So America teamed up with Britain banks to fund stock money into the European Union, because at that point, at that time, the European Union didn't exist. They were all separated currencies. They only came to become a union in the 1990s. But that system worked by America after World War II, using British banks to rebuild Europe. So that's how that system worked after World War II. America rebuilt Europe with our baby boomers when they came back from World War II. And so the way America mass produced and exported our goods to Europe was through the banks of London. And so you've seen that relationship date back from World War II as far as the banking systems between America's banks and European banks. So in 2008, it was a microcosm of that relationship between America, Federal Reserve, and the Bank of London. So we had a run on the markets, and it spilled over to Britain. And so Brexiteers was all about turning against Germany again for the economy. The Britain government did it in World War One. They did it in World War II. And now they're Brexiting because they're hating the German economy again. And so Britain doesn't want to play second fiddle to France or Germany, because the economical power of the European Union is Germany and France. So Brexiteers want to break up that themselves, Brexit from the Union, for the love of money. They're willing to turn against the Union, like turncoats, the Brexiteers. So at the end of the day, you start to see how I study math and economics and accounting. I studied Adam Smith, The Wealth of Nations, and the Theory of Morality. So I I studied the Morgans, and I know how to analyze shrewdly the world economic order. So going back towards the 2008 collapse, The banks of America Federal Reserve was tied directly to the banks of London through this system that dated back from the conclusion of World War II. Because you got to understand, America Federal Reserve, through America's government, we rebuild Europe because they were in ruins. The whole of Europe was in ruins. So when the baby boomers came back to America to work and we industrialized ourselves, it was to rebuild Europe. But we did all that through the Wall Street Stock Exchange, tied umbilical cords to the Bank of London. And that was burst in 2008 when we decided to defraud minorities by giving them loans, knowing they were upside down loans. They were subprime loans. America Federal Reserve, the Treasury Department, through the Wall Street bankers, they packaged it up like it was AAA ratings, and they sold it on the world commerce to buy it up. But it was really junk bonds if you think about it. And the contingency was tied directly by this system. The banks of Britain suffered the contingency spill flow of 2008 collapse. So understand that this is how the Eurozone that existed now, as far as they came together as a union in the 1990s. In the 1990s, the Eurozone formed. But Britain didn't like the fact that Germany outproduced them, that Germany became the industrial power block of the European Union. So they Brexited all for Germany, the Brexiteers. And between the Brexiteers and the conservative Tories, they want to decouple economically from France and Germany. And so at the end of the day, this system is trickled down from this almighty dollar that we call the Federal Reserve. Even the European Union is under the preview of American reserve status as a global reserve currency. So the European Union is basically under this great pyramid that we call the mighty dollar. And it's been like that since the end of World War II. Since the end of World War II, the euro economy functions under the Federal Reserve and the Treasury Department through the Stock Exchange of Wall Street. So the Eurozone floats the greenback because America took advantage of economic opportunities after the ruins of World War II. America rebuilt Europe. And through the banks of London, they propped up their stock exchange on Wall Street. The Federal Reserve did. So in 2008, there was a contingent run of the markets because of the real estate markets and how the bankers were defrauding loans, mortgage loans. And so that spilled over, and Britain, the Bank of London, felt the brunt of it. And that's what started the Brexiteer movement. But at the end of the day, this system that's been set in place ever since World War II concluded works to prop up America as the world reserve currency. So now Britain, for the love of money, betrayed the Union, the European Union, like turncoats for the love of money. And it's all been like that dating since World War I. The royal families of Britain didn't get along with German. The royal family, the aristocracy of the Germans. That's how World War I started. World War II started because of the reparations that the Britons imposed on the Germans from World War I. So that's what started World War II. And now they Brexiteer off of the Germans again. The Britons have. So this been dating back all the way since World War I, as far as the tussle between Germany bankers and British bankers. And the British can't stand the Germans' economical order. They couldn't stand it in World War One. They couldn't stand it in World War Two, and now they're trying to Brexit off of Germany controlling the eurozone. So France and Germany are good members of the Union, of the European Union, but Brexiteers can't forget the past. So they want to control the Brexiteers through America. They still want to control the European Union and the eurozone. Even though that Britain Brexited off, they're still using America to try to control the European Union, the banks of London. So you start to see that even the European Union falls, their fate is underneath this almighty dollar. So even the eurozone is a kind of like an economical colony of the old of the all CNI greenback, with this asymmetrical trickle down economics relic that the American federal bankers set up after World War II. Now the world is imposed by this mighty dollar. So you start to see how this economical system works globally, whether in Europe, whether in Asia, whether in Africa, whether in Latin America, whether in the Middle East. You start to see how this asymmetrical trickle down world reserve currency works. Is it fair? Is it fair? It's gluttony. It's pure gluttony of greed, if you ask my opinion. And it's disordering the world order. And it keeps the third world perpetually devaluated with parity purchasing power. Now you see why the third world wants to rise up as economical union blocks, to be multipolar union economical world orders, to compete equally at the table, to sit at the table, to eat equally at the table as economical block unions, to liberate themselves from this asymmetrical all-seeing eye that we call the Federal Reserve. When they try to peg their currency to the world reserve status, to the flow of energy supplies to the rest of the world, I think that's impunity of hegemony over the world. And that type of system needs to be phased out. It doesn't apply. It's not applicable. In the 21st century, it's not applicable. So you start to see that the royal family at the time, before World War I broke out, were the Austrian Empire of their royal family between the British and the Germans. When Austria went to war with Britain at the beginning of World War I, it was because Britain economic system didn't jive right with the Germans. So after World War I, Britain imposed reparations on the German economy. And so that's what gave rise to Hitler, from the reparations. That's why he took so much hatred towards the Jews, because of the money exchangers. That's why Hitler despised the bankers or the money exchangers. He took it out on the Jews genocidically. But now Brexiteers are going through the same thing with Germany again. It's like history repeating itself over and over again when it comes to the economies of Europe. So Brexiteers believe that Germany is the work engine of Europe, and it makes them feel inferior. Once again, the Germans are outshining, outproducing with technologies and advances in their automobile industries and their tech companies. They're outproducing Britain again. And so Britain feels inferior, and they always have felt inferior to the German economies. Before World War I, after World War II, Britain joined the banks of London, of the stock exchange of New York. So America flooded money through the banks of London to rebuild Europe. And after 2008, the 2008 collapse of the banks of America and of the Bank of London, it started the Brexit movement. And so now they broke off for the love of money. They broke off the Union. But they want to be under the skirt of NATO for protection. But for the love of money, they turn away from the Union. Like Benedict Arnold's. They look the other way. So now you have Germany and France are the most prosperous members of the European Union, but you still got the Brexiteers. You still got the Brexiteers. And so this type of system keeps on repeating itself. But now, America, like I said, the Eurozone is floating the greenback. Because it's only recently that the Eurozone united as a union. And that was through the 1990s. So they're still infant when it comes to a union of a currency. But they're under the preview of America's economy. The Eurozone economy and the Eurozone currency, they float America's greensbacks. Because if it wasn't for the Eurozone economy, America won't have a commerce to stand on the global stage with their world central currency. Give me a minute, my there's background noise. Give me 1 minute. So at the end of the day, you start to see this Ponzi scheme, how America is the world reserve currency, and how America made up after World War II. We created, from the League of Nations, we created the United Nations and headquartered them in New York. And then we created the World Bank, the Bank of Settlements, the SWIFT system, the World Trade Organization, the International Monetary Fund. So America's Treasury Department, they make the rules up as they go along when it comes to commerce and economical world regulations that govern the global commerce. So America makes it up as they go along with the Chicago Boys type of economics. And the rest of the world is pegged, including the Eurozone, to America's greenback to this day. To this very day, since it all started for America after the conclusion of World War II. So America now is struggling and grasping at anything to hold on to their world reserve status. So at the end of the day, this type of system has to be ratified and revoked. So it's supposed to be a global economical union blocks that I'm starting. Because I believe that South America should unite economically and have their own union currency, independent from the dollar. The same for Africa. They should unite as an economical bloc and have their own union currency. And if they want the gold standard for themselves, they deserve it. Because they've been at the brunt of this European economy for a long, long time. Africa has been at the bottom. They've been enslaved and impoverished for millenniums. But recently, through this recent commerce, Africa is still impoverished. They got enslaved, and now they're impoverished, and they're the poorest regions on earth. So if they want to unite and have their own union currency under the gold standard, then power to them. Asia has been warmongered. Japan, after America divided Asia for their own economical interests during World War II. We started the Civil War in China that created Taiwan. We bombarded Japan with 2 nuclear weapons in order to make them our satellite economic colonies. The same, we invaded the Koreas and divided them in two to make South Korea our economical colony. We invaded Vietnam and it was trying to take South Vietnam to make it our economical colonies. So you start to see the tyranny of greed. You start to see that money is the root of all evil when it comes to ambition and gluttony. The Middle East has been warmongered for the love of oil, genocidically, by America and the Seven Sisters, meaning Royal Dutch, BP, British Petroleum, Texaco, Chevron, Exxon, the Arab nations, and the OPEC members that America has toppled in the name of war just to prop up the Seven Sisters, meaning the Anglo Western European oil companies. So at the end of the day, if, as a theologian, I believe that South America should unite and have their own sovereign union currency. The same for Africa, they should unite and have their own union currency. The same for Asia, they should unite economically and have their own union currency. The same for the Arab lands, to unite and have their own union currencies. The same for Asia and the same for Eastern Europe. This is the multipolar economical order. To rise up the third world unitely, economically. To alleviate for the third world the plight of poverty, of trickle-down economics. So you start to see, as an economic theologian, how the global South will rise up together as unions, multipolar bloc economical unions, as well as the Eurozone. They should remain as a union. America, you know, when America started with the Founding Fathers, it was colonies and they had different fiats, colonial money. And they realized, the bankers and the Founding Fathers realized that they should unite their currency because it was better for a medium of exchange with fluidity of transitional currency, meaning back then they had colonial money, so everybody was printing up their own currencies and it was stagnating commerce. So America decided to unite under one currency. So what I am insinuating is that it'd be a multipolar economical union order for the third world to have a better representation at the table. So I'm not trying to devaluate the union currency of America. I'm trying to evolve it to be a better just system in a multipolar union economical bloc order. Where every union, where their central banks, their sovereign central banks can represent their regions as they feel fit to rise up from poverty. So this relic of the world reserve status to the American greenback has to be phased out in order to be a just system in its place.